Well, Sydney FC returned to Allianz Stadium for the first time in a month on the back of 3 road trips that yielded a win and 2 draws. A decent springboard, they hope, for a finals push that is starting to gather pace. Adelaide United, their opponents, are enduring a rather worrying run of form. Their only win in the last 7 came against Sydney FC in the corresponding fixture here in mid-January's Unite round, and just a stoppage time goal last week, of course, against Perth Glory prevented a 3rd straight loss. Key departures certainly haven't helped, but Carl Beard's team really could do with a win to stay in touch with the top 6 here tonight. It's been a rather warm, muggy day in the harbour city. Temperatures in the late 20s. Adelaide United in their change strip, the bone colour. And there's the match ball awaiting the 2 teams. As Sydney prepare to return to their spiritual home, which has brought a bit of a mixed bag of results so far this season. 4 wins and 3 defeats. It's not quite the fortress that they promised it would be when they returned to the rebuilt arena, but tonight offers another opportunity. And you'll see that the pitch looks a little patchy as well. Of course, we had a Pink concert here last week. It has been relayed. The APL says it is fit for play. Let's hope that is the case. Let's have a look at the team news. 1 change for Sydney FC. Patrick Wood will be missing for quite some time with that stress fracture to the ankle. So Robert Mack returns for the first time in over a month to the starting 11. Schoolboy pals Hayden Matthews and Jake Girdwood-Wright continue their central defensive partnership, though Gabriel Lacerda is fit enough to start on the bench. Jack Rodwell and Joel King remain on the sidelines. There's Andrew Redmayne, his 213th game for Sydney in all competitions, which moves him past Terry McFlynn into 5th place on the club's all-time list. He is also looking for his 50th clean sheet this evening for the Sky Blues. Now, 1 change for Adelaide as well. Javi Lopez replaces Giuseppe Bobolina at right back. It's just his 3rd start of the campaign and his first since that 4-3 win over Sydney here in the Unite round in January. Nestori Irankunda is not part of the matchday squad. The official word is he's being rested after falling sick this week. No place for the returning Yaya Dukuli as he builds up his fitness. Ben Halloran is not included. Panayotis Kikianis continuing alongside ex-Sydney FC defender Ben Warland in defence. That after his late goal-scoring heroics against Perth last week. Hiroshi Ibasuki hit a hat-trick against Sydney when they met here at Allianz a few weeks ago. And he's a couple of goals away from hitting double figures in a season for the first time in over a decade, so far as his own individual career is concerned. There's Fuktale, who took charge of Sydney for the first time against Adelaide back in November and came away from Coopers with a 5-1 win. His team have picked up 23 points from a possible 39 since he took charge. However, Carl Beard has slightly the better of Tale in the head-to-head, Beard winning 4, Tale 3 of the 11 previous meetings, with a further 4 having been drawn. And of course, Mark Milligan, Carl Beard's number 2, former Sydney FC player himself. There's our referee, who is Alex King. He took charge of that 4-3 win for Adelaide in the last meeting between the teams a few weeks ago here at Allianz. Game number 129 in the competition in the middle for the Queensland official today. So all set. Early evening in Sydney. Still rather humid. Temperatures will cool as the sun sets, and Sydney FC about to get us underway. Kicking from right to left on your screen, this fixture has produced so much entertainment this season. 13 goals between the 2 teams in the 2 fixtures, Grayscale. Hopefully we'll get a few more tonight.
Oh, well, thanks, Simon. Great to be here. And if those last two fixtures are anything to go by, well, we'll be treated for an absolute goal fest tonight. But no doubt Sydney FC looking to add to that 5-game or 4-game unbeaten run, make it 5. But Carlviet's side desperate, obviously, for the full 3 points.
Offside flag was up against Zach Clough. And it was the right idea from Javi Lopez, but you could see a couple of Reds players standing in an offside position, of which Clough was one. Having a good season though, Zach Clough, 6 goals and a fair few assists as well. Really seems to have found his feet in the A-League this season after a bit of a bedding in process. Redmayne's ball forward, controlled by Caceres, and he'd spotted that run of Robert Mack. So too for the Reds at Javi Lopez. Dug out by Bratton. The ball's across the sideline and out for an Adelaide throw. Luke Bratton, who's started every game so far this season. Probably approaching the veteran stage of his career at 33, but still so important for Sydney, who now look to apply the high press, and I think that ball had gone behind. Kikianis let the ball run, confident there was going to be a goal kick, and that is the case.
He didn't leave much margin for error, did he? Just a touch as the ball had passed the line there.
The impudence of youth. Out off the head of Ryan Kitto for a Sydney FC throw, who are now 4 matches unbeaten. In fact, just 1 loss in their last 8 in the competition. That was that 3-4 reverse to Adelaide United here at Allianz, although that counted as a Reds home game in the Unite round. Little back heel from Gomez is clever, and Lolly is onto it, and Sydney could be in here. Chance for Courtney Perkins, who drags his shot across the face of goal.
That's a bright start from Sydney FC. And Jordan Courtney Perkins, a player who, in my eyes, is going from strength to strength in this Sky Blues side. But some nice combination play early on from Sydney. Good strength shown by Joe Lolly. I think it was the right decision to hit that the first time, but he scuffed his shot a little bit. Hasn't quite hit it as cleanly as he would have liked.
Only ever scored twice in the A-League, Jordan Courtney Perkins. Strangely enough, both goals scored against Melbourne Victory. One of those for Sydney earlier on the season. Luke Bratton crowded out. Here's Ibasuki, who's going to try his arm from long range, and Andrew Redmayne, who was off his line, manages to palm the ball over, but it was a cheeky effort from the Japanese striker and well worth a try.
Yeah, well, it was a great hustle in the middle of the park from Adelaide. Really good vision too from Hiroshi Ibasuki. Got his eyes up and saw Andrew Redmayne just a little off his line. Forces the save, but that's great vision by the striker, who's in form at the moment for the Reds.
Looking to reprise his hat-trick that he scored here a few weeks ago. Here's the corner, which Ibasuki can't reach. Reset through Isaias, bit of space for Clough. Up but not completely away from Hayden Matthews. Now Gomez looking to link up with Mack on the right. And Gomez's pace not quite enough to get in there. He could do with a goal as well, just one in his last 5, Fabio Gomez, and that was a penalty against Western United. It's not the only measure by which strikers are judged, but it is an important one. Has contributed 4 assists as well as his 6 goals this season. It's been a decent signing for the Sky Blues, placing Adam Lafondra, of course, at the point of the attack. Rather large boots to fill.
Well, just a little. I think it took a while to warm into the season, Gomez. Find his feet, and as the guys mentioned off the top, he's been in and out of the starting 11 for the Sky Blues, at times coming off the bench. But of course, any striker wants to be finding the back of the net.
forward by Warland. That was intended a fancy for Morg, but he was just held up by Jordan Courtney-Perkins. This is Kikianis. And glad to say, Grace, it looks, for the moment at least, as though the pitch is playing okay, despite that almost entire resurface done during the week.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing myself, that the ball actually looks to be travelling pretty well across the surface, and that's a huge credit to the ground staff who turn it around and make it happen. It doesn't look the best, but as long as the player safety and ability to play a good game of football can be done so, it certainly looks to be holding up so far.
Redmayne expecting close quarters, a patch of that newly relayed turf. It's got away from Anthony Caceres. Starting on the left-hand side of the three in behind Fabio Gomez, with Robert Mackmore central. It's a foul by Isaias, which safe to say he doesn't agree with.
Not too much in the challenge, no doubt. You can see the frustration, but nonetheless there was a little clip of the heel there on Corey Holman. It's a pretty handy area of the field too for Sydney. They'll be able to load up some good numbers into the box.
James Delianoff on red alert for the Reds. High defensive line for Adelaide. Joe Lolly about to deliver the set piece. Gomez lurking at the back of a whole phalanx of players, and he got on the end of it. Caceres couldn't bring it down. Bratton trying to go around the outside. Sydney appeal for a corner, and they're going to get it.
It's great industry shown by Luke Bratton. Just travelling forward at pace, not giving up on the ball, but got concerning moment here for Adelaide United.
Josh Cavallo, and immediately the signal has gone up to the Reds bench that at the very least he's going to need some attention, and at worst Adelaide are going to be required to make a change here. And Josh Cavallo starting back-to-back games for the first time since he underwent surgery on that torn Achilles.
This is curious to see exactly what has happened to...
Seemed pretty innocuous, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, and it's concerning there. He's just gone to ground, and you mentioned there just his second start of the campaign. But Hiroshi did signal for a substitute pretty quickly, didn't he?
And I guess when you've been out for such a long time, Grace, the body's not necessarily... It's not necessarily the injury, but it's the rest of the body that has to readjust to playing senior football at a very high level, and it can take a while. Let's have another look at it. Nodded down by Gomez here. Is there a bit of... gets a bit of contact there from Caceres. Is that the problem though?
Yeah, it may well be, because he was clutching at that left thigh, but really disappointing moments there for Josh Cavallo, who was rewarded with another start this evening after great energy and input last week. Kyle Viet said that starting side would be rewarded, and he was one of the players to do so. So that's a disappointing end to his afternoon. As
one door closes, though, another one opens. Former Sydney FC player Harry van der Sarg off the bench. His first appearance since December 2022. He's been out for a long time with injury, so good to see him back. And he's got some defending to do here. Joe Lolly to float the cross in. A little bit too much elevation. Ryan Grant to scamper after it. And resets through Corey Holman, who drives it cross-field. Joe Lolly darting inside. Nathan Alagic got a foot in. Sydney forced back. Bratton. Well, that's a lovely release by Luke Bratton. Joe Lolly timed his run to perfection, stayed onside, and got a second bite at the cross, and he didn't really make the most of either opportunity.
Yeah, another good forward move from Sydney FC, but just the quality on that pass, that final delivery from Joe Lolly, lacking a little bit of quality. That ball from Luke Bratton, though, lovely. Cutting out 5-6 Adelaide players just with one pass, but didn't quite have the shape it needed on it.
Fabio Gomez after this one. The bounce always favouring the goalkeeper, and the flag was up anyway against the Brazilian. Sydney making most of the early running grace. Just that one half chance, I guess you could call it, for Hiroshi Ibasuki, which was a little impudent after 3 minutes. Otherwise, the ball's largely been in this half of the pitch.
Sydney well and truly camped in their attacking half, and Adelaide have had to turn to their bench much earlier than they thought they may needed to.
Up in the air by Ben Warland. Ryan Grant underneath it. A little bit of miscommunication between Alagic and Warland. Javi Lopez takes charge. And it goes off Ryan Grant, who's now got the job of marking Harry van der Sarg. Those two know each other well. Back in the day, Harry van der Sarg was reckoned to be the new Ryan Grant during his time with Sydney FC. Didn't quite work out that way. It's calmly done by Warland. Alagic giving Stefan Mork one to chase down. Promising position for the Reds. Didn't really make the most of it. A nice idea from Alagic. Ibasuki given just a little too much to do at the back post.
Quick transition by the Reds was certainly the right idea. The ball from Mork too, you could see exactly what he was trying to do, but just asking a little too much at the far post. But we speak about the bench and we speak about the absences today, and for Carl Beard having to dig in early to his players on the sideline. Well, question marks over Ben Halloran and his absence today. We know Irun Kunda, we've heard the official line that he's been unwell throughout the week, but it does put a question to the depth from the squad.
And you can add to that injuries to Lockie Barr, Jay Barnett, Panache Madania, Musa Toure, Johnny Yule. This is Caceres meantime, and he's continued his run, and rewarded by Joe Lolly is Fabio Gomez. Well, he had time to set himself, and he just didn't adjust the body in quite the right fashion. Good chance that for Sydney.
Yeah, that opened up really well. And this run too from Caceres, to have the vision, to have the awareness that you're going to have a player there, and to cut it back to Fabio Gomez in time, in space. He's gone for the spectacular. But after what was a well-worked bit of play, once more, Anthony Caceres at the base of that. Well, that's another good chance for Sydney.
Interesting that James Delinoff is not taking the goal kicks. Big responsibility on his shoulders, of course, now that Joe Gauci has departed for Aston Villa. Back in the day, I remember when he arrived at Adelaide, he was the #1 and Gauci the #2, and then, of course, he suffered that dislocated shoulder against Wellington New Year's Day 2022. He's had a fair old wait to get the gloves back.
Yeah, he has, and it's fair to say he's done a really good job too, to be out of the game for that long, to bide his time in the second position, and for just his 7th start of the season now with Adelaide. It's really good to see him back playing regular football.
Start of a big night of action in the Isuzu Ute A-League men's competition. The big Melbourne derby to come later, and then Perth against Brisbane. Here's the late game. Sydney with a chance to go 5th if they can get the chocolates here today. Here's Robert Mack, held up by Javi Lopez. Two very experienced players going toe to toe. Mack with the quick throw, a little bit too quick for Courtney Perkins, and Kikianis helps it out for another throw. He's got forward to good effect once or twice, Jordan Courtney Perkins down the left-hand side. There he is again. Quite at the angle to find Caceres first time. It's worked out okay for the home side. Bratton. And Courtney Perkins and Caceres not quite on the same page. And it's a goal kick for Adelaide United. Anthony Caceres, who got a goal and an assist against the Mariners last week in that 3-1 win in Gosford. Just his second of the campaign. I do fancy if he could add a few more goals to his game, he'd almost be the complete midfielder. There we go, 5 touches in Adelaide's box, but nothing at the other end as yet. That's a fairly good signifier of the way things have gone in the opening 16 or so minutes.
Yeah, really no real surprises there. Interesting too, Sydney just setting up a lot higher from Adelaide's goal kicks. At the other end of things, when Andrew Redmayne got the ball, Sydney not interested in playing short, but Adelaide certainly looking to try and play through the midfield.
Let's quickly go down to Trista McManus, who might have some news for us on Josh Cavallo. Tris.
Yeah, thanks for that, Simon. Yeah, we were trying to figure out whether it was a hip or if it was knee. It turns out that there was a quad strain from Josh Cavallo. He looked very, very disappointed and obviously hobbling on his way off. Great to see Harry van der Sag back on the pitch. He's had a really long layoff himself. But
let's just break away. Thanks, Tris. Ibasuki on the ball. Sydney get numbers quickly back behind it. Alagic can't quite drive his way through. Isaias jabs it back towards Van Warland. Now Kitto. And there's nobody there for the Reds. Go on, Tris.
Nah, that was pretty much me, Simon. I was just going to say, I'm sitting beside Broski here, so I can't not let him talk. Sydney should probably be ahead at this stage, Broski.
Oh, look, I think Fabio Gomez will like that chance over again. He got it all wrong. It was a great ball by Anthony Caceres and probably could have got them off to a better start given the way, they're controlling this game. But look, as of yet, both Simon and Grace have said it. It's been quite measured from Adelaide, not a lot going forward. But Sydney, on the other hand, pressing well, trying to create chances and very positive going forward, but still lacking that cutting edge at the moment.
Thanks, guys. Courtney Perkins being kept honest here by Zach Clough. And Redmayne will see it out almost into the arms, I fancy, of Lord Brosk of Moore Park. Amongst his adoring public today.
Oh, old habits die hard, don't they?
It's going to beat Stefan Mork. With his third spell in Adelaide United colours. Calvert's got a few problems to resolve, hasn't he? With all those injuries and other off-field matters, particularly regarding Irankunda, that have dominated the media headlines over the last week. Not an easy juggling act for a coach.
No, it's a tough one. We talk week in, week out about the management of personalities of players, and certainly that's a key storyline. And to have no Irankunda in the side today, well, for fans, super disappointing. They want to see him light up this stage as he so often does. But obviously, if he hasn't been well throughout the week, then that's the priority.
Bratton, nicely angled ball. And a little bit heavy off Lolly, but nobody in an Adelaide shirt around him to take advantage, and instead he'll drift out towards that right-hand side. He's got 2 defenders with him. Seen out by Ethan Alagic. He's just recovered from a bout of COVID the last couple of weeks. Almost forgot that was still around, but it is. Up towards Isuzu by Kitto. Well marshalled by Hayden Matthews. A great story, Hayden Matthews and Jake Gertwood-Reich. School boy friends. Came through the Sydney Academy together. Now playing alongside each other in the heart of Sydney FC defence. It's cleverly done by Kitto, but Corey Holman sends it back forward for Sydney. Joe Lolly. There's nobody in the back post. And Gomez gave it his all to try and keep it in play.
Well, really, Sydney FC at the moment just lacking that final bit of quality. They're getting into really good areas. The delivery once more from Joe Lolly, just lacking the right weight, the right shape on the pass. Asking a little too much of Gomez on that occasion, but time and time again they are getting themselves into really good areas. They'll be ruining the quality on these final products.
Mork. There's no foul. Holman. Robert Mack, I don't think, was expecting that to come his way. All he can do is prevent a goal kick. A bit of frustration from Ufuk Talay. Stefan Mork looked an expectation towards the referee that he might get the whistle, but it was not forthcoming from Alex King. Little game of head tennis, which Stefan Mork wins, and then Ryan Grant subsequently. And a foul by Courtney Perkins on Clough.
Separate to this challenge, Stefan Mork just remonstrating with referee Alex King, looking for the foul in the middle there from Bratton.
Ivasuki, Kitto in position. That was a good raid that by the Reds fullback. Final touch though did come off the Adelaide skipper. It will be a goal kick, but he showed initiative there. Bombed on beyond Hiroshi Ivasuki. Well defended by Joe Lolly. Yeah,
had to be too. Joe Lolly just doing his defensive duties as well as getting forward as he has on a few occasions already. See him just trying to catch his breath.
He's got a great record against Adelaide United so far this season, Joe Lolly. 4 goals and 2 assists in the 2 fixtures against the Reds. A double in the 5-1 win at Coopers earlier on this season, and then another brace in the 4-3 home loss. Now it's going to be a yellow card for not retreating quickly enough here. Corey Holman getting in the way of the restart of play.
Well, smart play there from Van der Sar. He looked to play quickly, looked to get that switch ball off, and Holman knew exactly what he was doing, slowing down play, and that's always going to be a yellow card. You cop that one for the team in that situation.
Zach Clough to take the free kick. Flat delivery towards Ivasuki. It actually skimmed off the head of Ben Warland. And behind for a Sydney FC goal kick. Confirmation of that yellow card given to Corey Holman, his first of the season. Now starting his 6th consecutive game alongside Luke Bratton at the heart of Sydney FC midfield. It's a good climb by Caceres, and Gomez will put it down in front of Joe Lolly. Really get hold of it. It's a routine save in the end from James Delianov.
Yet another chance for the Sky Blues. Good forward move, and Joe Lolly just on his non-preferred right foot, doesn't get the purchase on the strike.
Here goes Harry van der Sar against his old club. Oh, and he almost embarrassed Redmayne at the near post. It took a touch on the way through off a Sydney player as well. It is going to be a Reds corner, and nothing that Harry van der Sar would like to do more than score against his old club.
It was a nice move, dip of the shoulder, just to afford himself enough space. It's a wicked strike too, tricky, but this is a look up at the other end. Joe Lolly, again, just not getting the purchase around that strike he would have liked to do so.
So despite Sydney's territorial dominance, Adelaide lead the corner counts. This is their second. Clough to deliver in towards the near post where van der Sar was stationed. Up in the air by Kikianis off the head of Stefan Mork. Good climb by Girdwood Wright. Still there for Javi Lopez. That's clever from the Spaniards. Not bad from his compatriot Isaias too, but turned over briefly by Mork. Good scrapping from the Reds to win the ball back. Now Girdwood Wright has time to get the head up. Given away carelessly by the Reds. It's Anthony Caceres. Big chance here. Robert Mack. 1-0 Sydney FC. Ruthlessly dispatched by the Slovakian. It's his first goal since the 29th of December. And Adelaide only have themselves to blame.
Well, it had been building for the Sky Blues for some time. A dominant opening half here. And on the Harvey Norman replay, given away cheaply in the middle of the field. Sydney FC with good numbers forward. And a great ball from Caceres. Easy as you like finish, a return of the Mac. How about that for the Sky Blues? You've got to say they deserve that lead as well for this first half. They've been dominant.
Yep, can't argue with that. But Carl Veert will be so disappointed with how carelessly they gave the ball away. That's to take nothing away from Mack, whose finish was clinical.
And the pass too from Caceres, just drawing enough Adelaide defenders in and picking the right time. The timing of that release made it easier for Robert Mack. And it was a very clinical, neat finish.
Well, as you say, Grace, on the balance of play, it's a lead that Sydney FC will probably feel they deserve. But the manner by which it came about will irritate Carl Veert immensely, I would wager.
Yeah, I'd say so as well. It's one of those ones that when you look at with the team, whether it be half-time throughout the week at training, and how easily preventable rather that moment is for Adelaide. A poor mistake in the middle of the park, and on that occasion Sydney did capitalise. Up until that point, kind of had the feeling about it that Sydney, for all their dominance, were going to be stung on the counter or a bit of transition play, so they'll be very pleased to find one in the back of the net.
Nice moment for Robert Mack, who's had a bit of a stop-start season with injuries. His last goal came against Wellington back at the back end of December 2023. It's just his third of the campaign. Stark contrast to double figures that he got last season. Jake Girdwood Wright not particularly happy that he got pinged for that, but the referee's decision, of course, is always final. Here's Stefan Mork in a bit of space, and it's a tempting delivery across the face. Redmayne to the rescue, not once but twice, and maybe even to set up a counter-attack for Sydney. Had to make that, Andrew Redmayne. And again, on a newly relayed surface, Grace, not always that easy to judge the pace of the ball. Here's Joe Lolly. Sydney going in search of a second before half-time. Warland on the stretch. And Kitto to clear upfield, only as far as Bratton, who miscontrols, helped out by Matthews. Sydney had the throw-in.
Well, nervy moments there. Stephen Moore, opportunistic, good ball. Almost putting hesitation into Redmayne's mind, but he had to make the decision, and it was off his line well, off his line early. Not once, but twice. And that clear and kick almost served as a bit of counter-attacking play. But when you make that decision and you commit to it, you've got to make sure that you make it, and Redmayne did with conviction.
Caceres somehow finds a way through. It's not a bad delivery either, but that'll be there for Sydney. Andy Lopez earns the throw. It is shirt sleeves weather in the Harbour City. And talking of which, Adelaide are going to have to roll their sleeves up and come from behind if they're to win what would be just their second game on the road this season. Their only win away this campaign against Western United back in November. And yes, they did beat Sydney 4-3 here in the Unite round, but technically that was a home game. Matthews. It's inventive from Ryan Grant. He had a contract at the end of the season, Ryan Grant. Surely a new one will be forthcoming. Sydney without Ryan Grant doesn't seem right, does it?
Just doesn't quite feel right. I'm sure that would be the case for Ryan Grant. He's had a really sound season this year again too, and age being a factor, but he's been solid at the back. Grown into the season, I'd say, as well. The last couple of weeks particularly, he's not slowing down by any means.
Scored last week, of course, against the Mariners. He says he's not worried about the situation. Holman under pressure here, got to be careful. Did well. Sarahs and Bratton places it out beautifully in front of Jordan Courtney-Perkins, who has open pasture to attack. Support here from Lolly, still Lolly, before Ben Warland says enough of that.
Well, it was a brilliantly timed tackle by Ben Warland, it had to be as well. It was a sweeping move from Sydney FC, lovely touch from Bratton, just cutting out 4 Adelaide players with one pass. And Courtney Perkins, well, has the freedom to get forward and found a nice inside pass to Joe Lolly.
That's the sort of pass that will not make back page headlines, but absolute quality from Luke Bratton. Calmly done by the Reds. Isaias finding Alagic with ease. And now the race is on. Ibasuki away, but Redmayne with good anticipation. The flag had gone up in any case.
And something Sydney have done well so far this afternoon. Pretty disciplined with that high line. It's just tempting fate with Stephen Moore and Hiroshi Ibasuki trying to squeeze their way through.
Nicely weighted return from Lolly for Grant. Mack. Lolly behind him. Joe Lolly. Just a fraction too much elevation. And he's always a threat, isn't he, the Englishman?
Well, on that occasion, he'd made the inside run onto his preferred left foot, which we've seen him do time and time again this season and last. Didn't quite have the dip it needed, but he is so dangerous from those areas.
Just the one shot on target so far for the Reds. Bit to think about for Carl Veer. They find themselves in a rather unfamiliar position on the ladder, the Reds. Have been within one game of the grand final in each of the last 3 seasons, so to be down in 9th spot where they are at the moment is not normal for them. They've got a chance here, perhaps. Here's Stefan Mork, and a good one-handed save by Redmayne, and Clough not able to snaffle in the follow-up. It's probably Adelaide's best opportunity, apart from that impudent effort from Ibusuki early on.
Well, we've seen a few of these moments from Adelaide, but certainly that the clearest cut yet. And Stefan Mork has done really well. Good pace as he's run onto the ball into space, got the shot away early, on target as well. Commanding a save from Redmayne, but Mork is looking dangerous when he gets into those front periods, those front areas for Adelaide, just starting to test the defence a little.
Nice switch of play from the Reds, and there's a bit of space here for Kitto. Cross deflected, and it's going to be a corner for Adelaide United. Given that they're now a team without the likes of Goodwin and Irankunda, even Halloran, it's so important that the fullbacks do get forward, Lopez and Kitto, to offer that width. Let's produce this corner. Zach Clough to take. Wall and darts towards the near post, helped on by Ibusuki. Sent forward by Holman. Out off Kitto.
Corners are always a threat when Zach Clough is taking them, and when the target is no doubt Ibusuki. He's been prolific this season, Ibusuki. That big towering target, and well, when you've got the service and the likes of Zach Clough hitting those time and time again.
By the way, his next goal for Adelaide United, Hiroshi Ibusuki, will take him past an Adelaide United legend in terms of the all-time scorers list, a certain Carl Veart. Courtney Perkins gets it back off Caceres. Worked out by Breton to the right where Ryan Grant is stationed, and looking for the run of Robbie Mack. Isaias. He turned 37 last week. Belated happy birthday to the Reds legend. Alagic trying to thread it through, but the gap wasn't quite there for Ibusuki. Lolly was clever. Andersag trying to rugby tackle Lolly, and he dealt with that with ease as well. Still going. Wonderful run, not a bad cross, and Gomez trying to tee up a teammate. Caceres not on the same wavelength. What a run from Joe Lolly.
Well, how about the run? How about the strength as well? Streaming down that right wing, just shakes Van der Sag off like he's nothing, bounces off his shoulder. Enterprising from Joe Lolly.
Talo, so competitive even when it comes to the awarding of a throw. Ian Carl Veart, of course, old adversaries on the field of play during their days with the two clubs in question back in the early years of the A-League, and it was really one of the rivalries in the competition. Sydney Adelaide, No love lost between the two in those days. Caceres shrugs off the attentions of Alagic on the outside of the boot. What a ball that is. Fabio Gomez around the goalkeeper. Can he finish? Still Gomez. And still, as he delayed too long, looks like it. Lolly for Grant, and they have to settle for a corner, Sydney. And Fabio Gomez looks to the heavens and wonders why he couldn't finish that glorious chance for Sydney. What a ball from Caceres.
I'm marvelling at the delivery from Caceres there, outside of the right boot. Fabio Gomez just dallies on the ball, indecision, can't find the right pass. But that release ball from Anthony Caceres, well, that was delightful.
Here's the corner from Lolly, over the head of Gomez. Robert Mack to retrieve. Squared up by Bratton, still plenty forward for Sydney. Including Gomez, punched away by Delianov, off the post by Goodwood Reich, and then off the line by Ben Warland, and it's still alive for Sydney. Joe Lolly trying to find a way through, it's still there for the Sky Blues. Adelaide grimly hanging on. Well, it seems certain that Jake Goodwood Reich would score just his second goal in the competition, but he was denied by the upright. And then Ben Warland scooped it away off the goal line.
Well, it just wasn't to be for Goodwood Reich. Off the woodwork, second chance. He was appealing for a penalty on that second challenge. He's a target in those set pieces. Goodwood Reich gets himself into good positions, great stature, but it just wasn't to be on that one.
Well, Delianov's punch was not the strongest, and it caused all sorts of problems for Adelaide United, who have very much been second best so far at Allianz Stadium. Isaias trying to change all that. The possession stats are relatively even. Sydney have had the better of things in an attacking sense, for sure. An important half-time team talk coming up, you fancy, for Carl Viet. You look at the league ladder and okay, there's still a fair few games to play, but you don't want that top six to start getting away from you.
Exactly right. The feeling that it's just starting to slip away. Haven't won in the last three for Carl Viet's side. 3 points more necessary than ever in a game like this, a fixture like this, to get them back on track. They've proved they can score the goals.
So a little nudge there on Courtney Perkins. I thought Talay thought so. Might Luka Jovanovic be a potential solution for Adelaide United? Inject a little bit more energy and dynamism going forward in partnership with Ibasuki. Tricky one for Carl Viet. They've got a chance here though. Stephen Morkin behind, but he can't finish. Well, he's had two decent sights of Sydney's goal, and he hasn't been able to take either of them.
Something that Stephen Mork's done well this afternoon. It's just the run off the shoulder of his defender. He's timed it to perfection. But good enough pressure that's come through late from Goodwood Reich. And it's just pushed Mork off his shot. Hasn't troubled Redmayne whatsoever. But they're the kind of chances that Adelaide are going to need to take should they want to stay in this game.
Into the first of 2 additional minutes at the end of the first half. This is Lopez. Tidied up by Hayden Matthews. And the chase is on here. Fabio Gomez, if he gets there ahead of Delianov, is in trouble. And the rebound could have gone anywhere, quite frankly. Fortunately for Adelaide United, it goes the wrong side of the post. And it's just not Fabio Gomez's day at the moment, is it?
Well, he's had to laugh at that one. He knows how close it was. Face in his hands, and that would have been the perfect ending to this first half for the Sky Blues.
Just took a little skip and a bounce up off one of the edges of the new patches of turf that's been relayed. Maybe that just changed or deviated the direction slightly, who knows. Girdwood Reich, or rather Matthews I should say, and now Courtney Perkins. Lovely ball around the defender for Robbie Mack. Kikianis and Lopez sorted out between them. Had a good first half in warm, humid conditions. Sydney with the better of it, no doubt about that, but Adelaide have had their moments too. And a blast on Alex King's whistle tells us that is half-time. So Robbie Mack's third goal of the season, which arrived on 27 minutes, is the difference. Anthony Caceres with a delightful assist. Sydney feel they might have had one or two more. Joe Lolly has been central to most of their good attacking moves. Fabio Gomez might have had a hat-trick on another day at the other end. Stefan Morg had a couple of good opportunities. And at the interval, it is Sydney FC with the slender advantage. Sydney FC 1, Adelaide United 0 at the break. We're off to a break ourselves. On the other side of it, join Tristan McManus and Alex Cross for their thoughts on the first half. Don't go away.
Welcome back, where the score here is Sydney FC 1, Adelaide 0. This was a great chance for Gerwood Wright to put Sydney 2-0 up. Unfortunately, it was not to be. Welcome back to Allianz Stadium, and welcome back to the Hungry Jacks halftime show, where my name is Tristan McManus, and I'm joined here by Alex Brosk. And Brosky, we didn't quite get the goal fest that we anticipated, but it's not from lack of trying. There's been plenty of chances so far.
They have. Look, I think for Sydney, for the most part, have dominated the game. Like Simon said, territorially anyway. They've had, they've been in Adelaide's face. The pressure they put throughout the whole first half has been incredible. Whether they can sustain that, I guess we'll see in the second half. But I think Adelaide will be buoyed by the fact that it is only 1-0. I think Sydney have had a lot of chances. Fabio could have had a hat-trick on another night, but it is still 1-0. So while it remains that way, can Sydney keep up that press, or do Adelaide come into it?
Well, talk us through this, the Harvey Norman highlights as we take a look. This is the goal that put Sydney FC ahead. Robert Mack coming back into the starting 11 and getting the goal.
He did. A big one from him. Much needed, I'd say, as well. Coming off the bench, you always, as a foreigner, you always want to, be starting and have the impact that you're brought here to do. But unfortunately, he's been coming off the bench and been resigned to that role in recent weeks. So coming back into the lineup, he needed to step up. He needed to have a big game. And this is a great finish. A lot of pressure, one-on-one. But he's been in this situation, in that position, so many times before. And he had a cool head, cool enough to get them in the lead.
It speaks a lot to the competitiveness of the game when Sydney could be 3 or 4 ahead, but Adelaide are far from over. As we take a look at the match stats here, 8 shots on goal for Sydney FC, 5 on target, at goal from Adelaide United, 3 and 2 on target there. Adelaide are very far from being out of this game, and like I said, Sydney could have got a couple of goals, but Adelaide are making good chances, and they look dangerous when they go forward.
Well, they are. I think with Sydney, with their high press and how much they press throughout the half, it's impossible to sustain that for over the whole match and whole half. So I think Adelaide need to wait for their opportunities and their moments. When they have done that, with Isaias turning out and finding a pass on the other side of the pitch, or Mork has done the same thing, I think that's where they've found joy, and that's where they've been able to expose Sydney's defence a few times out wide. So if they can stay in the game, try and wait for those opportunities and try and break Sydney's press, that's when they look dangerous, and it could very easily have been 1-1 if Mork had done a bit better.
Great stuff. As I mentioned, there's been a lot of chances for both teams. Let's take a look at them now. Again, very exciting watching Fabio Gomez. Very frustrating though as well, huh?
Look, it is, because he's had a few very, very good chances. The volley off Caceres was a great one, but this sort of got things started. I think it was a little bit of a slow start. It wasn't until that press from Sydney started to push Adelaide further back that we started to see the chances start to come through. But as we said, a good bit of press from Adelaide here, and a shot out of nothing that almost caught Andrew Redmayne off his guard. So I think that's where Sydney do need to, keep it tight and be careful, because Adelaide have the quality with Clough, with Stefan Mork making his runs into the box. And look, with Ibasuki, of course, he's in a bit of form. But Joe Lolly, you have to keep him off his left foot. And it's a job that sounds a lot easier for me and you standing here on the sideline. But it is difficult, and we know he's going to cut in all the time. But these are the moments. These are the moments when they're able to break Sydney's press. And Sydney do look very, very vulnerable at these times. So I think Adelaide, like I said, just need to keep a cool head, try to find a way to break that press. The opportunities will come. And for Sydney, they need that second goal. It has that feel where they've had so many good chances here. Fabio's had a couple. Gerwood Wright here had a couple. Where if they don't get that second goal and kill the game off, it could be dangerous for them.
What would you be saying to Adelaide coming into this half-time break? Like I said, Stefan Mork, that was a great chance there. I mean, the pitch obviously took a bubble or something, or he didn't hit it right, but
look,
it went.
I'm blaming the pitch on that one. It was a bit
It's gone back to Adelaide, I think that one is. Yeah. Let's take a look at the Paramount Plus player index. We talked about him at the start of the game. Anthony Caceres, he's very high on that list. But again, top of the pile at the moment, Robert Mack. And you can't question that. He is always on form. The great thing about when Robert Mack shows up, Joe Lolly always ups his game even more. And he's been fantastic.
Look, the three of them, Caceres, Joe Lolly, Robert Mack, there's no surprise given that advantage that they've had, that press. They've had a lot of control over the ball. Luke Bratton could easily be there with the distribution and his quality in breaking up play and keeping things going every time Sydney win the ball. But like I said earlier, Robert Mack is that player that can add that little bit of extra dimension to Sydney's lineup at the moment. He hasn't had the season we saw from him last year, but with what they're building and the momentum that they're gathering at the moment, we know what Lolly can do, we know what Caceres can do. Robbie Mack can just add that little bit of quality, and of course Fabio with Paddy Wood out needs to get the goals as well.
As I said, we talked about Anthony Caceres before the game. I want to talk about him again because he's just absolutely quality. We talk maybe getting his numbers up, potentially more goals, potentially more assists. He got one today.
And it was a great one. The pass with the outside of the boot, on a pitch like tonight, which isn't great, it bobbles a lot. The confidence that he has, he sets up here Fabio Gomez, who should have done a lot better. And I'm pretty sure it's this pass here where, it isn't, but a little bit later we see he set up the goal as well. And we do see that pass that he played for Fabio Gomez with the outside of his right foot. It's a pass that looks quite easily for, again, me and you watching here on the sideline, but it is extremely difficult to execute, not just the pass, but the weight of pass to try and commit the goalkeeper, which he did so well. It's a beautiful piece of skill and a beautiful piece of quality from a beautiful player, really.
Right. Well, nobody needs this clarity, but I'm just going to say it anyway. It's an awful lot more difficult for me to do it than it is for you. I've seen you do it many, many times.
Not on my right foot, mate. Definitely not.
Fair. We've got an exciting second half coming up here as well, but there's a fantastic game going on in Melbourne tonight. The Melbourne Derby. Melbourne City take on Melbourne Victory. That's going to be live from 7 p.m. on 10 Bold and Paramount Plus. Really exciting game down there. We see Matt Leckie, a big smile on his face. You think he could get a smile on his face tonight? Melbourne City aren't really going through a great patch at the moment. Bruno's back. He'll want to get back in the goals as well for Victory, and they need to do something. They were fantastic the whole start of the season. They're getting an awful lot of draws now, finding it hard to get that win.
They are. It's been a few weeks now without that win. We thought last week with Bruno Fornaroli coming back, he would have added that bit of spark, but unfortunately for them, they got their first loss, and credit MacArthur with how well they did. But this is a game that really gets everybody going, and it's so exciting for both clubs, both sets of fans, both sets of players as well, and I can't wait to get home and watch it.
I've got to watch it myself. One thing that is disappointing, I've just heard Bruno Fornaroli's out tonight.
Well, there you go.
So we will not be talking about Bruno Fornaroli, unfortunately. The second half, like I said, it's not too far away. Again, that is the end of the Hungry Jacks halftime show. Coming up the end of February, there is a huge final qualifier for the Paris Olympics. The Matildas take on Uzbekistan in a two-legged game. You do not want to miss that. It's live on Network 10 and Paramount Plus.
Caitlin Ford takes over. Still going. What a run! Brilliant individual goal. Fowler, it opens up for the shot. Oh, Mary Fowler! What a goal! They're queuing up in the middle. Carpenter, who sets the bar so high for the Matildas.
Allianz Stadium, get ready to drive dance. The Isuzu Ute game is coming around the stadium. Show us how you would live it up in an Isuzu D-Max or MUX. Show us those moves on the big screen here at Allianz Stadium. This is the Isuzu D-Max drive dance. the balance between excitement and adventure in the seventh seat by Isuzu Ute. Gone your right way. Spectators must comply with the A-League's terms of admission and the venue's conditions of entry. The A-League's Professional Football of Australia and Football Coaches Australia taking a stand against online bullying in Australian football. There's no place for racism, abuse or hate in our sport. Play it fair. Flares are illegal at our venues. If you possess or throw a flare, there are penalties that apply.
Welcome back. Second half not too far away. Adelaide United already back out. They have won just one game this season in which they've conceded the opening goal, but that match was against Sydney FC here at Allianz Stadium a few weeks ago when they fought back to win 4-3. Now, the Cove in pretty good spirits at the moment. Robert Mack with the game's only goal so far at that end of the ground. Ruthlessly put away it was as well. The Sky Blues fans will bear in mind that their team has kept just the one clean sheet so far this season. That was their last home game against the Newcastle Jets, which they won 4-0. Here's Red Wing Steve, along with several members of the Red Army. There's one got in the Sydney end as well by the looks. As the home side take to the field, Joe Lolly has been instrumental once again. Fabio Gomez, for his part, might have scored a couple. And will they live to regret those missed opportunities in the first 45 minutes? They will hope not. If they can get the points today, they will move up to 5th and continue their renaissance under Ufuk Tale's leadership. A reign that began, of course, back in November against the Reds at Cooper Stadium. Stefan Walks had a couple of good chances in the first half, particularly that second one towards the end of the opening stanza, which he sliced wide of Andrew Redmayne's goal. No changes made by either coach by the looks at the break, or further changes, of course, if you are just tuning in. Josh Cavallo forced off injured in the first half. Harry van der Sarg on the left-hand side, but this should be an intriguing second 45, Grace Gill.
Well, spot on, Simon. I think fair to say Sydney might be even feeling a little frustrated going into the sheds at half-time that they weren't further in front. A fairly dominant first 45 minutes. Caceres, Bratton, Lolly, all instrumental in their movement going forward. Gomez, 2 clear-cut chances, you'd say. Big 45 minutes coming up.
Reminder of the teams at the start of play today. Just the one change for Sydney FC. Robert Mack, who of course is the goal scorer, coming back into the 11. That's surely a foul by Isaias. And to Alex King's credit, he did just wait a moment to see if Sydney got the advantage. He was very late on Corey Holman.
This serves as an early opportunity for Sydney. Good technical players over the ball to deliver a good set piece, getting numbers into the box.
No yellow card for the Spaniards, which he'll be relieved about. If he picks up another one, that would be his 5th of the season and incur a 1-game ban. Instead, it's just a free kick, which Robbie Mack is shaping to take. Joe Lolly's there as well to keep the Reds guessing. It's going to be Mack, and they scatter, and it's Gomez at the back post. And there were 3 Sydney FC runners that were not necessarily tracked by the Adelaide defence.
Well, it was a delightful delivery. You can see the spin on the ball. You wonder as well if Gomez was indeed the target. The other runners just coming in early. really good opportunity for Sydney early in this second half.
As for Adelaide, just the one change at the start of play for Carvid's team as well. Javi Lopez coming back in. The expensive Giuseppe Bobolina at right back, but as mentioned, they've had to make a further change with Harry van der Sar replacing Josh Cavallo. Van der Sar giving chase here. Away by Redmayne and return with interest. It's the second time he's almost been caught with his pants down off his line, but no real cause for alarm for Andrew Redmayne. Forward by Matthews. Gomez. Got clear of Wallen, but Kito providing cover. Delianov. Back for Kito. Bratton just getting the worst of that. He's always right in the thick of it, isn't he, Luke Bratton? He's got a whack to the back of, well, the lower back, I should say, of Harry van der Sar. There was just that one moment, Grace, wasn't there, in the first half that underlined Luke Bratton's importance to Sydney FC with that lovely release out of defence.
He does so much work, so much unsung work in the middle of the park. A great ball winners. Luke Bratton gets stuck into challenges, does not take a backward step.
There's the foul by Caceres on Isaias, which has given the Reds a free kick, which they have, fortunately from their point of view, rather wasted. Ute have been a fly on the wall in the Adelaide dressing room at the break. Not that they've been without their opportunities. They have to try and arrest this slide. Got out of jail against Perth late on last week after leading that game by 2-0 in the early stages. There's Harry van der Sar, and he's away from Matthews. And maybe looking for the penalty a little bit there. Van der Sar, good right to clear. Gomez believing he was impeded there by Warland. Has a few choice words to say to the fourth official, as does his coach. It's Ben Abraham getting the earache today, by the way, as the fourth official. That's a lovely slide rule ball for Ryan Kito with the cutback. Away by Bratton. Rather carelessly given away by Javi Lopez. This is Lolly. Not quite the Caceres style with the outside of the boot.
You can see what he's trying to do there, Joe Lolly. After Sydney FC being called into their defensive duties as well. This is that moment there. Gomez may have just strode into an offside position.
Lopez. Clough trying to step away from Courtney Perkins. Kikianis. Alexander Popovic now having left the club. The centre-back berth is open for the teenager to make it his shirt for the foreseeable. He is on the ball, and of course he was the hero last week in the 98th minute against Perth Glory with that equalising goal. Great moment for him. Van der Sar. Cut out by Courtney Perkins. Holman. And Grant. And now Lolly. Return ball from Caceres didn't quite have enough weight on it. Sydney go hunting for the ball high up the park. Adelaide good enough to retain possession. Isaias. To space by Kitto. Alagic turning back. Isaias. That's a better ball. Little pocket of space found by Stefan Morg. Wide right is Zach Clough. Ibasuki waiting in the middle. Not really had service in that manner in the air. Hiroshi Ibasuki is yet today, which is one of his strengths, of course. Lolly. Robbie Mack trying to time his run, and he stayed onside. Chance here for Sydney. Quickly snuffed out by Javi Lopez, but they will get a call of the Sky Blues.
Lopez had to be alert to the danger. Robbie Mack actually did really well just to measure his run, and you can see he had to hold himself from stepping into an offside position, but just this touchback shows too much of the ball to Lopez. Does well to get a corner for his side.
Squares up the ledger, 3 corners each. Robert Mack sends up the signal to his teammates. Gives it plenty of air. Ryan Grant to hook it back towards goal, but always favouring James Delianov. Adelaide with a lot more of the ball in the second half, which is of course only 8 minutes old. Trying to set a platform by which they can get back into the game. Kikianis, and they played through that press quite comfortably. Lopez puts it out in front of Clough. Ibasuki waiting in the middle. Here is Ibasuki! Goodness me. That was close to the equaliser. And that's the sort of service he needs.
Well, fine margins there. After what was a good, patient bit of build-up once more from Adelaide United. And you're right, Simon, they've come into this second half with much more composure on the ball. And that is so close for Hiroshi Ibasuki. We've spoken about the Fuktale side and Sydney FC and how long they can sustain this high energy, high pressing football. Just get the sense on a hot afternoon, a couple of players starting to get a little bit leggy out there in the midfield, and Adelaide just feeling a little bit more comfortable on the ball.
One goal, probably not going to be enough for Sydney, but a mistake by Kitto could open the door. And he was trying to manhandle Joe Lolly. Sydney will have to settle for the throw. Sydney are readying changes, we're hearing. Down on the sideline, Max Burgess and Jaden Kucharski, maybe to inject a bit of extra energy, as you were alluding to. Only partly away, and on the volley by Jordan Courtney Perkins, but Adelaide had bodies between the ball and the goalkeeper. Caceres. Holman. Little 1-2 with Gomez. Corey Holman. Great save by Delianov. I'm not sure how much he knew about it. Still there for Joe Lolly. And Delianov again to the rescue for the Reds. 2 really good stops.
Well, just as Adelaide were building back into the game, that's a really good give and go there. Nice little 1-2 between Holman and Gomez. That's a comfortable height for a goalkeeper to make the save. Really needed to be on the ground in the corner, but that is a prime chance for Sydney to go in front, and Corey Holman's last contribution for the afternoon.
Yeah, Max Burgess takes his place, and Robbie Mack, who got his goal today. First start in over a month. Maybe he's one of those who is running a little on empty, so little Energizer Bunny, otherwise known as Jaden Kucharski, is introduced for Sydney. And credit to James Delianov. The first one, I think, just hit him. Second one he did well to push away. Lolly's corner. On the volley is Gomez. I think that might have... Well, I thought it hit Girdwood right, but clearly an Adelaide defender, because Sydney will get another corner from the opposite side. Caught this one cleanly.
Yeah, exactly as I was just going to say. He hit that really sweetly. Gomez had a similar opportunity in the first half and got it all wrong, but that one came off his boot very nicely.
Lolly thought about the short corner. Instead floats it towards the back post. Ibasuki was there for Adelaide, who will look to spring forward quickly. Stephen Moore, look how quickly Sydney get back behind the ball. Alagich. Warland. And back by Kikianis. They played through this press quite well in the second half, Adelaide. Almost came undone there, but Kito sent it forward, not with any great accuracy, it must be said. The game quite nicely balanced at the moment. Adelaide with a bit more of the ball, but Sydney with those two good chances.
Yeah, something Adelaide really struggled to do in the first half was break down that first line of defence from Sydney. Sydney just ambushed for that entire 45 minutes. But that substitution from Ufuk Talay, really interesting. Two very attacking players, nothing defensive about the two players who came on in Max Burgess and Jayden Kucharski, known goal scorers. And what they add in the way of energy and creativity, it's going to be a really interesting prospect how Adelaide adjust.
Well, adjust they're about to do, because they're going to make a double change shortly. Here we go, Giuseppe Bovolina and Luka Jovanovic. Harry van der Sar was a substitute himself in the first half, but of course still finding his way back after injury. And Hiroshi Ibasuki, interestingly, is withdrawn as well. Maybe a little bit of tightness in the hamstring. So Luka Jovanovic, a like-for-like change for the big Japanese striker. And Sydney, well, a chance maybe to play in Fabio Gomez, but Caceres, who's been otherwise really good, not with his best ball of the night. Bovolina trying to make progress. Calmly done by Hayden Matthews. Lolly with the switch. Good one too for Courtney Perkins. Beyond him is Burgess. In behind is Jayden Kucharski. Little stumble. Oh, Gomez couldn't miss. Has a little look to see whether he was offside or not. Celebrates the goal. Now the flag does go up. They will check it. And I wonder whether Gomez gave himself away by just looking over the shoulder.
Well, the substitutes combined perfectly. And here we'll see in the middle of the park.
Actually, I wonder whether it's for the foul on Ben Warland.
The question if it was a foul or a stumble, it was hard to see if Warland just lost his footing or did get clipped. Well, you can see what Fabio Gomez thinks of that one. The easiest goal he'll score won't stand.
Well, he knew there was a problem, because immediately after tapping the ball into the unguarded nets, he looked over his shoulder at the linesman, so clearly his concern was that he was offside. And there might have been a hint of a foul on Ben Warland as well. Anyway, it doesn't count. And Sydney's advantage is just the one. And the official word is it's been ruled out for the foul on Ben Warland. There we go. Isaias. Alagich having to take evasive action. Sent long by Kito, but Ryan Grant had its measure. Stolen back though by Bovolina. He's a handy weapon, not just as a defender, but also as an attacker. Made a bit of a mess of that one though, and given me the commentator's curse. Here we go, let's have another look at it, and it's this contact here that they've ruled the goal out for, not the offside flag. Thoughts, Grace?
Well,
it's a coming together, isn't it? But you can see why they've ruled it out.
Yeah, you can see where the decision's been made. There wasn't much in it at all, and I think it was rather incidental. But nonetheless, that'll be that. The response from Carl Viet, the 2 changes he's made too. Completely agree with your sentiments around Bobolina. I think he's a great attacking outlet as much as he has been playing in a defensive role in recent weeks. Provides really good energy going forward.
It's actually probably a role that suits him more. I think he did play as a winger when he was younger. Isaias has done really well to work his way through heavy traffic there. Sydney have got a player down injured. Adelaide continue through Clough. Here's Lopez, run out of it though by Burgess. Adelaide will try again through Alagic. Now Mork. Clough couldn't turn it around the corner towards Lopez. Kikianis. And the game remains on that knife edge. 2 big games to come later on, remember. The Melbourne Derby, City hosting Victory, and then Perth-Brisbane, the late game tonight. Both games live on Paramount Plus. And this one has just under half an hour to run. Joe Lolly still full of running. Burgess. Caceres. Courtney Perkins. Rather Lolly, I should say. Outbreak here for Gomez. In fact, Burgess steals the ball. Ryan Grant in position. Tidied up by the Reds, and now Kitto can run clear. That scrap between Isaias and Kucharski. You've got the wrong end of stray arm here. Nothing intentional about it, but still hurts. Bobolina. Ivanovic in position. Might have been offside. And Lolly upended by Isaias.
No love lost there between those two. And also just a good moment for Sydney to reset that ball into the box.
Would have been offside, Ivanovic.
Yep. But Sydney now can just take stock, try and settle terms and just start to dictate the tempo again after Adelaide have done really well to come back into this second half. And there's nothing comfortable about a 1-0 lead.
Just created that one real chance though, the Reds, that volley from the now departed Hiroshi Ibasuki. There he is, the Reds' top scorer with 8 this season. He'll play no further part today. No hat-trick for him at Allianz this evening. Caceres. Bratton for Girdwood Reich. Courtney Perkins. And Kucharski. Caceres. Lolly. Loves receiving the ball in these sorts of positions. Goes for the early cross with the right foot this time. Just to keep Adelaide guessing, and hands his team a corner.
You can see the very pass he was trying to make. Just trying to thread the needle between Adelaide's defensive line. Ben Warland, alert to the danger, gets a big foot in the way.
Sydney would love the safety net of that second goal. Kucharski, drop of the shoulders, going to have a go here. Not a bad try, might have just glanced the outside of the post there from Jaden Kucharski. Good effort let's go down to Tristan and Alex Brosk as we watch the replay. You guys want to make a point about Sydney's press?
Yeah, great effort there by Kucharski. I think the part, and you mentioned it earlier, Simon, where Adelaide, and you can see again here, they're getting out so easily. I think it's the way in which Sydney are pressing, and it comes from their strikers. In the first half, they were doing it collectively. It's not just the forward, so you can see Kucharski having a little look behind him there, and that's the key. They can't go until their midfielders are ready to come up with them. Otherwise, Adelaide can get their players like Isaias and well, who else is out there? Alagic out, 2v1 against Caceres. So the important thing is doing it together, and that's why it seems as though it's, they are getting a little bit tired, and that's why Adelaide seem to be getting out a little bit easy in this half.
It's a good point, Broski. And yet, for all that grace, chances for the Reds have been at a premium. Strangely enough, probably created more in the first half.
Yeah, it certainly felt like they did. Adelaide sitting back in the first half and relying on that transition play, the counter-attacking play that was looking a little bit more successful for them. This second half certainly had more of the ball, but it's just that fatigue setting in for Sydney FC.
Yeah, the XG sort of reflects what we're saying about Adelaide's paucity of chances, but still plenty of time to go. You're always a chance when you're just the one goal down. Fabio Gomez has had chances to make it 2 or even 3, and he wants a foul there, but he's going to be disappointed. This is Clough. Not really been able to impact the game too much this evening, Zach Clough. Kucharski.
To say Giannis has hardly put a foot wrong this evening for the Reds as well, the young player, just the 18-year-old, slotting in, as you mentioned, Simon, and doing a good job at the back for the Reds.
He's been likened to Alexander Popovich by Carl Veert, and you can see why. He's got a similar sort of composure, hasn't he? And he is a defender first and foremost. Off the head of Bratton. Lolly, good turn to get clear of Kitto, but it's too far in front of Fabio Gomez, who's endured a frustrating evening.
Just hasn't been his night, has it, for Gomez? That was a lovely turn in the middle of the park by Joe Lolly. Really sharp play. Perhaps the pass a little bit straight.
20 minutes to go. Lolly. No way through for the Englishman. Way back for James Delianoff. Warland. Cut out by Lolly. Warland again.
Not sure if Warland wasn't just grabbing at his right hammy after that last clearance. Looked a little bit laboured on the touch, so we'll keep an eye on that one because he's had a big night up against Gomez.
He's got to turn and chase now because Max Burgess is on the ball, and he finds room for the cross. Courtney Perkins again, not needing a second invitation to get forward down the left. Now he's got to chase back. Zach Clough away down the right for the Reds. Beyond him is Luki Ivanovic. Here comes Girdwood Reich, and he did enough. Talking of barely putting a foot wrong, how about the partnership between Girdwood Reich and Hayden Matthews, built in the school playground? It's been pretty effective this evening.
Yeah, it has. And you really can't fault either of them. The 19-year-olds, the centre-half pairing for the Sky Blues. They've been impressive.
Sydney have got their injury concerns in that area of the park. Aaron Gerd out with a broken leg. Jack Rodwell, don't know when he's going to be back. Lacerda on the bench tonight. Joel King has a toe injury at left back. There's Lacerda. He is fit enough to be amongst the replacements this evening after suffering a groin injury last week. Kitto. Bovalina. Isaias. Little angle ball back for Kitto. Has time to swing it in. Look at that from Caceres. No foul. Here's Stefan Mork. Thought about the shot. Zach Clough to curl it in, but beyond the reach of Giuseppe Bovalina. A bit better that from the Reds going forward.
Just little glimpses, little moments for the Reds starting to build. That was clever use of the body on that occasion from Ryan Grant. Bovalina was streaming in. No contact on the ball from either player, but just smart, experienced defending by Grant.
They're still in the game, Adelaide United. They left it late last week against Perth, very late, before grabbing an equaliser. Are we going to see the same sort of drama here this evening? It's sort of at this point of the game that I guess you'd love to have an Irankunda on the bench, wouldn't you? To come on and cause a bit of havoc. That option not available to Carl Beard today.
100%. These moments of the match are made for a player like Irankunda. Of course, he's missed out there in what he brings in terms of energy and speed. Jovanovic on and hoping to do his part too.
Another awkward stretch for Ben Warland, by the way. Keep a watching brief on him. Sydney pilfer the ball back inside the centre circle. Burgess. Courtney Perkins has gone beyond. This is Caceres. Now Courtney Perkins. Two in the box for Sydney. Throwing goes Adelaide's way. Isaias. Mork can't reach it. Isaias can. And away goes Giuseppe Bovalina. And back post is Stefan Mork, taken down on the chest. Nicely done by Mork. And it was inviting for Zach Clough, but Sydney managed to get bodies back and in the road.
Well, first off, great vision by Bovalina to pick out Stefan Mork, and a good first touch too from Mork. But defended well once more by Sydney FC when they have needed to. They've got numbers back behind the ball really quickly, really effectively.
A little careless by Ryan Grant, but Sydney won't suffer any of the consequences, at least not yet, because of it. Kikianis. Well, that's the As Live ladder. If Sydney do see out this win, they will leapfrog their great rivals, the Wanderers, and into fifth. The Wanderers are in Gosford tomorrow to face the Central Coast Mariners. One of two matches tomorrow. Macarthur against Wellington the other. The current league leaders, of course. 5 points clear, the Knicks. Talking of New Zealanders, I'm told the great Jason Pine is at Allianz Stadium this evening watching proceedings. Good to have the great man in this neck of the woods. Kikianis. Isaias. Hughes with the intervention for Sydney. Lolly held up by Kitto. There are some tired bodies out there. Joe Lolly's shirt dripping in sweat. And Adelaide have got a problem with Ben Warland, as we alluded to a few minutes ago. Not 100% sure he's going to be able to continue, Grace.
Yeah, concerning signs there for Adelaide. Ben Warland did grab at that right side, whether it's the quad, the leg. Part of that right leg for sure is giving him a bit of grief. This doesn't look good.
Yeah, it's going to be a change. Austin Ayubi has signed on with the club recently from the Metro Stars in the MPL in South Australia. Takes the place of Ben Warland, and Ryan Tunnicliffe is also with us as a replacement for Stefan Morg. Had those two decent sights of goal in the first half. Wasn't able to convert.
Well, real concerns for Carl Viet here with his ever-growing injury list. Ben Warland takes his place on the bench. We saw Josh Cavallo go off earlier in the game. 2 forced changes.
I think Hiroshi Ibasuki pulled up a little bit sore as well with a hamstring problem. It's the part of the season when the games come thick and fast. There we go. The ice on the hamstring of the big Japanese striker started to melt in the heat. And Sydney have a free kick. Gomez climbed well at the back post. He could have had 3 or 4 tonight.
Just hasn't been his night, has it? That was a really good delivery once more from the Sky Blues. And ideally he needs to nod that back across traffic where more blue shirts are coming through. It's a pretty low percentage chance to try and direct that one goalward from that angle.
Clough. Here's Ayubi. And Kikianis. Tunnicliffe. Floated forward by Kitto. Ayubi does well. A little bit of spark off the bench from Austin Ayubi. Kitto. Ayubi again. Is this the moment for the Reds? Might have been a suggestion of handball there against Luka Jovanovic. And the whistle now does go. A little bit unlucky, Luka Jovanovic, but it did bounce up onto the arm.
No doubt about that one. Little touch off the arm down to his feet. Frustrating one for the striker.
Well, we're into the last 10 minutes. Andrew Redmayne is close to what would be a 50th clean sheet in Sydney FC colours. And just the second of the season. And on the balance of chances created, you'd probably say they deserve it, but Adelaide are not out of this by any means. Tunnicliffe. There's that press again. And a foul this time by Javi Lopez on Burgess. Just having a stretch for that one. And a little loss of control. Alex King well placed. Javi Lopez pointed to the big screen. I'm not sure that proves your point, Javi. Lolly's set-piece delivery. Delinov's come a long way and he's not got really a decent portion of the ball. Turned back in by Burgess. Away by Kitto. slice off the right boot of Ethan Alagic. Brought down by Kucharski. Sydney desperate for the second goal. Lolly picking his way through. Down he goes, and Alex King says penalty. Isaias with the challenge. And the fact that he's not complained too much, the Spaniard, suggests that he knows. Carl Viet reckons he might have got the ball. Let's have another look.
It's been a tough night for Isaias. You can see that sweeping leg has just collected Joe Lolly as he's cut back in. Alex King, no hesitation as he points to the spot. And for Sydney, if they can find the back of the net on this penalty, you'd think that would all but secure the result.
Well, it's all on James Delianoff now for Adelaide United, surely. And Fabio Gomez, who hasn't had the best of nights, did have one goal ruled out for a foul on Ben Warland. Does have the chance now to get his name on the score sheet and maybe make the points safe for the Sky Blues. That's where his previous 6 have gone, predominantly to Delianoff's right. Let's see which way he goes. A little stutter, he goes the other way. No mistake. Sydney 2 clear at probably 3 points, heading their way, courtesy of Fabio Gomez.
Well, he needed that, Fabio Gomez, on the Harvey Norman replay. We have another look at the foul, no doubt, in the mind of Alex King. And as cool as you like, ice cold, in fact, from Fabio Gomez. A well-taken penalty. After what has been a frustrating night for the striker, he makes no mistake. Sends Delianoff the wrong way, and Sydney FC, they're 2 up.
It's his 7th goal of the season. Scored his first goal against the Reds at Coopers back in November. And that is one that he will feel that he's probably earned tonight. Isaias did maybe get a little bit of the ball, but that sweeping motion of the trailing leg also caught Joe Lolly. And the penalty was confirmed. Well, it's a long way back now for Adelaide with not much time left.
I have to say as well, even more impressive for Gomez to step up and take that, given that he has had a frustrating evening. His mentality behind that, the resilience to step up and put the previous 85 minutes behind him to slot that one home.
James Delianoff did his homework, didn't he? Guessed the right way. It's offside meantime against Adelaide United. Gomez went the other side, and that's why those Sydney FC fans in the Cove are in full voice at the moment. Closing in on what would be an 8th win of the season, and one that would take them above their great rivals from across the city, Western Sydney Wanderers. As for Adelaide, it would be 1 win in 8 matches, as the storm clouds continue to grow in South Australia.
So well played there by Anthony Caceres. Great close ball control.
Molly goes down and looks in vain for a free kick. Instead, it's Austin Ayubi for the Reds. And it'll break kindly here for Clough. He was all wrapped up by Matthews unfairly, as it turned out. Free kick for Adelaide. Chance for them here. Yeah, good decision too from Alex King. Again, right on the spot.
Positioned really well there, Alex King, to see that clearly as you like. Hayden Matthews, who's been largely flawless for the entire evening, just a little clumsy on Clough.
And Andrew Redmayne will want this clean sheet. They've been rare commodities for Sydney this season. This could be a crucial free kick for the Reds. Zach Clough prepares himself and fires over the top and almost into the cove. Disappointing for Adelaide.
Yeah, you could see what Zach Clough was trying to do with the strike. Didn't have the dip it needed, didn't have the pace to challenge Andrew Redmayne. In fact, he'll take as long as he can here.
Paramount Plus player index. Robbie Mack, who's since departed the scene, still well out in front. Anthony Caceres and Joe Lolley in second and third. Both have had really good games, as have the two central defenders, who are fourth and fifth. Sydney are preparing a late change. Nathan Amanatidis, I'm told it's going to be Fabio Gomez to be replaced after he finally got his goal. Once the ball goes dead. Bratton losing out. Touched by Clough. Ryan Grant drops to the surface to ensure this change can be made. Well, he's worked hard for his goal tonight, Fabio Gomez. Might have had one or two more. Takes his leave to be replaced by the 18-year-old who started his career off with Adelaide United, Nathan Amanatidis, before signing with Sydney FC in the close season, amongst rumoured interest from another 8 A-League clubs. That's how highly he's rated. This is Austin Ayubi. He's done well to shrug clear 2 defenders. Unfortunately for him, he's not going to earn a corner, and Jake Girdwood-Wright gets big high fives and pats and hugs from his teammates.
Well, look at the reaction from the Sydney FC players around Girdwood-Wright. 2-3 Sydney players around him congratulating him for the timing, the challenge that needed to be made. Ayubi, delightful run from him, cutting and weaving and finding a really good position. Just needed that strike, but Girdwood-Wright to the rescue.
Well, he's looked handy since coming off the bench, hasn't he, the 22-year-old? Did have a little stint playing in Cyprus in the second division there before returning to the NPL in South Australia. Into stoppage time, of which there will be a minimum of 5 minutes. The big Melbourne derby still to come tonight. City against Victory, and then Perth Glory against Brisbane, the late game. This has been a decent appetizer. And both teams have contributed, but I think the scoreline is a fair one, Grace, on balance.
Yeah, I'd agree on balance of the game. Sydney FC have felt the dominant side. Adelaide, in their chances, have been just a little bit toothless. It'll be a frustrating evening for Carl Veert, but one that I think Ufuk Talay can be really quite proud of in how his team has stood up and performed.
Yeah, Kikianis just pulling up a little bit late. He's back on his feet and on the ball now. Just looked a bit proppy for a moment. Surface perhaps rather slow and heavy as well. The relayed turf. Breaks for Ayubi, who'll drive for the byline. It's a good cross. Again, the substitute continues to impress down the left, and it needed that clearance from Jordan Courtney-Perkins.
It's a brilliant turn of speed from Ayubi. A great centering ball, and tell you, if Courtney-Perkins doesn't clear that, that is going into the back of the net, because at the far post, unmarked, that would have been Adelaide with one of their own.
Now, a big round of applause for Joe Lolley, who's Certainly played his part as he normally does for Sydney FC today, as Mitch Glasson is on as a late replacement, just to give that bit of energy late on. They'll try and see the job through for Sydney. Zach Clough, meantime, will get a corner for his troubles. And Adelaide must surely score from this if they're to have a chance of salvaging anything from this encounter. Plenty of targets to aim for. Kikianis in there. And it's headed towards goal. Goodness me, how did they survive that, Sydney? Still there for Ethan Alagic. And Sydney got bodies in the way.
Well, that one was difficult to track at the far post.
It was Bovalina and Lopez as well. Here's the corner, and Redmayne has missed it, and they've got a goal now. Javi Lopez at the back post. Late hope for the Reds. Less than 2 minutes to go, but they've given themselves just a glimmer of a chance, and that 50th clean sheet for Andrew Redmayne will have to wait.
On the Harvey Norman replay, it's just the slightest of lifelines. Javi Lopez, the reverse corner moments earlier, he was at the far post then, he was at the far post now. And it's come off the body of Girdwood Wright. Frustrated, he can't steer it away from the goal. But with mere seconds to play, Adelaide have a lifeline.
Well, if Lopez is awarded a goal, it's just his fourth. Oh, goodness me. Hero to villain.
McCarthy can hardly watch.
Just his fourth goal in the A-League, Javi Lopez, but now he's given away a corner at the other end. A tired-looking lunge at the ball. And Sydney will be in no hurry. Tapped short by Manatidis. They want to keep the ball down in that corner of Allianz Stadium. Adelaide desperate to get it. Mitch Glasson says, come and take it off me. Adelaide do get a goal kick now. They must go. Time almost up. They're trying to play through the press as they've done for most of the second half, and they've got out through Ethan Alagic, who sends it forward, and the race is on here. It's Luka Jovanovic, held up for the moment. Couldn't link up with Bovalina. It's going to be an Adelaide throw. It's surely got to be all on this. Alex King has checked the watch. This has got to be the last attack for the Reds. Javi Lopez preparing to send it long. They must score. Change of ball for the Spaniards. Throws it short for Kitto. Has to cross the ball. He got a bobble at the wrong moment. And it goes for another throw. Is there going to be time? The answer is no. 5 unbeaten now for Sydney FC, despite that late scare. And Javi Lopez's fourth goal of his A-League career. Sydney up to 5th on the ladder as they further cement their spot in the finals places. Robbie Mack with the opening goal, and then Fabio Gomez from the penalty spot after he'd had one ruled out for a foul on Ben Warland. They got a bit of a late scare, as mentioned, when Javi Lopez scored in the 3rd minute of stoppage time. But they held on for the 3 points. For Adelaide, it's another week outside the top 6. More questions than answers for Carl Beards. Full time at Allianz. Sydney FC 2, Adelaide United 1. Well, it was a good game of football in trying conditions, hot and humid, and the pitch played a little slow. Fabio Gomez might have had a hat-trick on another day. In the end, he had to settle for just the one from the penalty spot. And in the final analysis, Grace Gill, I think the team that had